Good afternoon, because it's the afternoon when I'm recording this. This is a pre-algebra chapter 7 lesson 4 video. We're writing equations today. So, bunch of word problems, and we're going to solve them the same way you guys are familiar with, in that these are two-step equations, sometimes three or multi-step equations, and you have to write the equation. No longer will the textbook give you these equations unless they're feeling very generous, which doesn't always happen, but now it's time for you to write the equation. So, to rent a moving van costs $29.95 per day plus 12 cents per mile. Mrs. Smith's bill is for a two-day rental was $70.46. How many miles did she drive the van? Well, oops. That's weird. All right. So what is the goal of this problem? Well, that would be to find out how many miles Mrs. Smith drove. All right, she drove the rental van. Well, that's not a question mark. That's a statement, Miss DH. All right, there we go. All right, so the second thing we need to find out is how long did she rent the van? Well, that's 2 days. And what is the cost of the rental without mileage? Let's say she just got the van, parked it outside the rental facility, and that was it. Well, it's going to cost her 2 times the daily rate, which is $29.95. So 2 days times $29.95 is a total of the rental cost, which is $59.90. All right, what is the mileage charge? Well, that's the 12 cents per mile. All right, so let's go ahead and write an equation. Let's take the $59.90, which is the cost of just renting the car, or the van. Not even driving it, just renting the van. And we're going to add the cost of driving the van, which is 12 cents per mile, or M for miles. And that's going to equal her total bill, which is $40.46. So now we actually have a two-step equation. And we have $59.90 plus 12M, or 0.12M, equals $70.46. So, as you guys are familiar with from the previous lesson, it is time to clear the fractions. So we're going to multiply this whole thing by 100, because that is the largest place value. All of these have to the 100th power, or not to the 100th power, excuse me, the 100th place value. So we're going to multiply everything by 100, which is the equivalent of just moving the decimal 2 places to the right. All right, and again, this is going to clear the decimals. So we're going to move the decimal 2 places to the right. $59.90 becomes $5,990. 0.12 or 12 cents becomes 12M. And 70.46 becomes 7,046. Now, you don't have to do this. Most of you guys are very comfortable with dealing with money. Just remember that it's money. And you should be fine. But some of you are going to be like, Miss DH, I hate decimals. And if you hate decimals, just clear the decimals. In this case, multiplying by 100. Okay, let's go ahead and solve this equation. And we're going to do that with the 2 steps. So here's the problem again. I'm going to minus 5,990 on both sides, because I'm taking care of low priority things first. And just remember that gets annihilated because it's the opposite. And we're going to divide by 12 on both sides, and the 12s get x'd out. And we're left with m equals 5,056 divided by 12, which is 88 miles. So Mrs. Smith drove this van 88 miles. And again, you could go ahead and check your work. You can always check your work by plugging it back into your problem, or just checking it, especially if it's a word problem, to see if it makes sense. If she does 88 miles, and it's 12 cents a mile, that is $10.56. And if you subtract that from her bill, which was $70.46, you're going to get how much she spent on mileage, which, according to my calculations, was $59.90. So it works out. Yay, next problem. All right, and then again, clearing the decimals, or excuse me, clearing fractions and decimals. It's not going to affect your final answer because everything got multiplied. Now, if you don't do clearing of decimals or fractions correctly, then yes, it is going to affect your final answer. But as long as you cleared the decimals and or fractions correctly, it will not affect your answer. 88 is the exact answer. I don't need to divide anything. I don't need to multiply anything. 88 is how many miles she drove. Okay, next up. So, suppose Mrs. Smith's bill for the 2-day rental was $76.34. How would the equation change? Well, did the cost of the daily charge change? No. Charge changed. Woo, no it didn't. So, instead, the number of miles driven changed. Also, the actual equation changed as well, because instead of having a total cost of $70.46, her bill is now $76.34. Okay, so let's go ahead and solve this equation. I'm going to go ahead and rewrite it. There it goes. The only thing is we need to erase the fact that it's no longer $70.46 per bill. It's now her bill. It's now $76.34. So let's go ahead and figure out what M is, the number of miles. So I'm going to multiply by 100 to clear the decimals, and then I'm going to go ahead and solve for M the same way I did earlier, and I'm going to figure out that the number of miles was 137 miles. So that explains the change in the price. Instead of 88 miles, she's now driven 137 miles. Okay, next up, let's talk about Mr. Jones and Mrs. Smith. So Mr. Jones rented the same van, not can. Ugh, gotta love typos, guys. I just type too fast for my own good. There we go. And I never proofread. I should stop that though. All right. So he rented the same van for 3 days. His bill was $104.49. Because remember, you only use the and when you're talking about decimal places. All right. How many miles did he drive? So, how has this problem changed compared to when we were talking about Mrs. Smith? Well, instead of 2 days of a daily rental, he's doing 3 days. So it's going to be 3 times, so 3 days of rental times the cost of 1 day, which is $29.95, plus 12 cents per mile times miles is going to give me his total bill. There we go. All right. So 3 times $29.95 is $89.85. So that's how much his rental cost if he just rented it and stuck this van outside the rental agency for 3 days and never actually drove it. Okay? And then we've got the miles per 12 cents per mile, and that's going to equal the total bill. So now, again, we can solve for the miles the same way we did with Mrs. Smith. I'm going to clear the decimals, yada, 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 same thing. I'm going to make the table. I'm going to solve for M. Things get annihilated because they're the opposite. And we're going to figure out that he drove 122 miles. So he didn't just leave this van parked in front of the rental agency for 3 days. He actually drove it for 122 miles. There you go. All right, guys, I'm done.